Today's other headlines begin in Kyiv, which is reeling from a massive Russian barrage that killed at least 21 people and wounded 48 more. Ukraine says it involved nearly 600 drones and 31 missiles. It's the first major combined attack on the Ukrainian capital in weeks, and it comes as the U.S. struggles to move peace efforts forward. William Brangham has our report.
This morning in Kyiv, a young boy watched in disbelief as some of his neighbors are carried away in body bags. The building they called home for years, and the lives of those they shared it with, destroyed instantly by a Russian missile.
I felt an explosion. It all happened so quickly. The windows were shattered. The apartment was filled with dust, smoke, and smashed glass. There was a woman and her child. She was under a cement block. She was not saved.
In the heart of the capital, the European Union said 2 successive strikes landed just 150 feet from the building housing its mission to Ukraine. No injuries were reported among staff, and the building remains open, but
I'm outraged.
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen vowed today there will be consequences.
We will come forward soon with our 19th package of hard-biting sanctions. And in parallel, we are advancing the work on the Russian frozen assets to contribute to Ukraine's defense and reconstruction.
Ukraine was also on the offensive overnight, hitting a Russian oil refinery. It's been nearly 2 weeks since the Anchorage summit between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. There's still no progress on the next step floated by Trump, a face-to-face meeting between Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. After its strikes on Kyiv today, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov claimed Russia is still committed to diplomacy. But Ukraine's president scoffed at that idea, writing that, quote, Russia chooses ballistics instead of the negotiating table. It chooses to continue killing instead of ending the war. The attacks come one day before Ukrainian representatives are supposed to meet President Trump's team in New York to discuss what security guarantees Ukraine could expect in any ceasefire deal. But that day seems, as ever, far off. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm William Brangham.
Here in the U.S., a judge granted a new trial for the 3 former Memphis police officers who were convicted in connection with the beating death of Tyre Nichols. Lawyers for the men had argued that another judge who presided over their trial was biased against them. They've been convicted of federal charges in 2024 of obstruction of justice through witness tampering. Video of the 2023 beating of Nichols following a traffic stop sparked nationwide protests against police brutality. Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook today sued the Trump administration over the president's attempt to fire her. Trump officials allege that Cook misrepresented her primary residence on mortgage applications and can be fired for cause. Cook's lawyers say the unsubstantiated and unproven allegation that Governor Cook potentially erred in filling out a mortgage form does not amount to cause. Today, the White House press secretary insisted that the president has the authority to fire her.
He has the cause that he needs to fire this individual. He laid it out in the letter that he provided to her and to the public as well. And so we'll continue to fight this battle.
No president has ever tried to fire a Fed governor in the bank's 112-year history. It comes as the president is putting increasing pressure on the Fed over what he sees as an unwillingness to lower interest rates. An initial court hearing is scheduled for tomorrow. In Florida, a federal judge has upheld her ruling to wind down the Everglades detention center known as Alligator Alcatraz by late October. The decision comes after emails emerged from last week showing a Florida official signaling that most detainees will be gone within a few days. The facility opened just last month. State officials say Florida stands to lose most of the $218 million it invested in the project. Also today, the Department of Homeland Security asked a military base outside Chicago for support on immigration operations in the form of, quote, facilities, infrastructure, and other logistical needs. The base said no decisions have been made on the request. Meantime, authorities in Rwanda say they've received 7 deportees from the U.S. so far this month after agreeing to take in as many as 250. The East African country is one of 4 African nations, along with Uganda, Eswatini, and South Sudan, that have such deportation agreements with the Trump administration. A Rwandan spokesperson says 3 of the individuals have expressed a desire to return to their home countries, while 4 wish to stay and build lives in Rwanda. No further information was provided about the identities of the deportees. The UN Security Council voted unanimously today to end its nearly 5-decade peacekeeping mission along Lebanon's southern border with Israel. Scaling down the nearly 11,000-member force will begin immediately, with a final withdrawal by the end of next year. The pullout follows U.S. and Israeli demands to end the mission and leaves the Lebanese government as the sole provider of security in the area. Meantime, in Gaza City, ambulances rushed to the site of blasts from Israeli strikes today. The Israeli military has stepped up its bombardment there, calling it the last Hamas stronghold. Health officials say at least 16 Palestinians were killed today across Gaza. Back in this country, officials at the CDC said today that a salmonella outbreak involving recalled eggs has poisoned nearly 100 people across the country. The cases appeared in more than a dozen states. Starting in January, 18 people had to be hospitalized, and the CDC says the actual number of those infected is likely much higher than reported. The FDA says Country Eggs LLC of Lucerne Valley, California, was a common supplier in areas where people got sick. The company has suspended production of its brown, cage-free sunshine yolks, or omega-3 golden yolk eggs. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution is stopping its print edition and shifting to a digital-only model in the new year. In a statement, the company said, "We knew this day would come," adding that many more people engage with our digital platforms and products today than with our print edition, and that shift is only accelerating. The announcement follows similar moves by the Star-Ledger in New Jersey, among others, amid a broader shift in how people get their news. The AJC's final print edition will appear on December 31st. On Wall Street today, stocks hit new highs after the latest earnings report from chipmaker NVIDIA. The Dow Jones Industrial Average added around 70 points on the day. The Nasdaq rose 115 points. The S&P 500 closed at a new all-time high for a second day in the row. Still to come on the NewsHour, Europe reimposes sanctions on Iran that were suspended as a part of the nuclear deal. A husband speaks out after his wife's immigration detention led to her being hospitalized. And we visit New Hampshire to examine the impact of state-level cuts to the arts.
This is the PBS NewsHour from the David M. Rubenstein Studio at WETA in Washington, and in the West from the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism at Arizona State University.